Hi guys, welcome to episode 13 of season 2 of the Lure Fishing Podcast, and today we're going to be looking at new versus old school lures, as Andy is so expertly displaying right here.
What would you call that one?
As in, what, old school or new school?
Yeah.
It's new school, isn't it? It's got to be, yeah.
It's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a little aspects of old school there, but it's this hybrid lure is probably a newer thing.
What's the aspect? The twin tail?
Twin tail, yeah, and that's, you know, I know fly tying is essentially what this is. This jumbo fly tying is old, but the concept of doing it like this is a fairly new thing.
So I'm going to pose you a question that we'll come back to at the end.
Yeah,
if we remember.
Yeah.
So is nothing new, or is it just recycled?
Recycled and reused, I think. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Who knows? Like, we're going to look at some bits today, which I do feel some of them are borrowed old technology. Some of them are brand new and doing things differently. But I do feel like nowadays it's very difficult to do something that's new. You know,
there's got to be a limit, hasn't there?
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Right, pick up something old rather than just me.
You just beat me to that. Right, let's go with what I'm loving at the moment. Let's go top waters. So this will be one that most people know. And there's a couple of them in here, so I'm going to try and open the box. Jesus, is there enough trebles on it? So that is, where am I looking? What camera is it? That one. That one. That is, can you notice it's all new technology? We're still learning. This is the Arbogast Jitterbug, which is probably one of the most well-known old school top waters that there is, and caught plenty of fish.
Do you think? I think most English UK lure anglers haven't got a clue.
Really?
Yep.
Maybe I'm in my...
I don't know. I'm not saying I'm right. I just think there'll be a small minority who will know what that is. There'll be even smaller minority who have got one.
Yeah.
And hardly anybody will be using them.
I think it's the first lure I ever caught the first top water lure I ever caught a pike on. It was the jitterbug. Smaller one. This I had a little black one with like white stripes. It was very cool. I'd love to know what it is actually. I don't know what happened to that. But yeah, this was definitely, for me, I think if you'd have asked me what's an old school top water lure, this would be the first one that came out of my brain. Yeah,
well, and the other, those wood choppers?
Yeah, and...
I bought these in the late 80s, and obviously these are bass lures, and we struggled to get them this big. We got the smaller ones to start off with. I suppose these are kind of like small musky lures.
Yeah.
Because obviously these are made in America, factory produced because they're plastic.
There's the Lure Jensen wood chopper's like a prop bait. There's other iterations of prop baits nowadays. Probably the most famous being the River to Sea Whopper Plopper. That's the current in vogue prop bait. Yeah, but there's new ones coming out. I think Weston have got one out or coming out. There's a Guggen baits released one a little while ago. There's all these new prop baits coming out. It seems to be in vogue again. I
think surface baits are coming back in fashion, and I think this is what I've noticed, that most lure anglers in the UK are very incredibly new to the scene, and most of them won't have used top waters.
Yeah,
I can guarantee it. So prove me wrong in the comments, guys. But from what I've seen, everyone fishes the same way. It'll be a Texas rig or a Cheb rig, or no, it will be a little shad on a jig head.
Yeah. And
that's what most people are using, and they just...
Or drop shot.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget the drop shot in. The drop shooting.
Yeah.
Talking of drop shotting, did you watch Xander Pro? Did you watch Freddie?
Yep.
Using that bloody great big bait on a drop shot?
Yep.
That's exactly how myself and Tom Moyer were doing it, but with smaller flukes.
Yep.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Like,
everyone thinks a drop shot is a small fish method, but it can be absolutely deadly for big fish as well, especially for Xander. Yeah. There's I won't give any names away or locations, but there's a particular place that I fished a couple of seasons ago where that was the way to do it. Not really big baits, but 3-inch shads on a drop shot, but just dragging it, just so you kept that shad on the same plane, but just enough to get the tail kicking. You didn't really want any sort of positive actions. It was the only way you could catch them at that point. And quite a high drop shot, you know, not like right near the bottom, probably 1.5 foot up off the bottom, and just pulling it along was the way to catch them.
Yep. Yep. So we went completely off track there, as we'll do no doubt throughout the rest of this podcast and forevermore. But yeah, I reckon most UK lure anglers haven't even got a top water in their arsenal.
No,
Let alone
true. And to be honest, it's not. I've fished top waters for a long time, but not very often for perch and pike. I do a lot of top water fishing for bass in salt water. I do a fair amount for chub. And it's only really the past couple of seasons that I've really started seriously taking top water fishing for perch and pike as part of my thing. I do. I used to just think, especially my local river, it's so weedy that anything sort of 6 inches below the surface is choked. So you have to find other methods of doing it. So I just sort of forced myself to start using top water more often, and it was using things like this, the jitterbug, and what's the other one, the head-on one? Is it the crazy crawler or something like that? Or
there's also head and mouse.
Yes. No, I'm talking about the one that's got the.
But that's slightly subsurface.
Yeah.
Yeah. Head and crazy. Yes.
The one's got little wings on the side, a bit like the duo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another new versus old. The head and crazy crawler, and then the duo Shinmushi.
That's what it's called.
Shinmushi. Yeah.
I've just brought a video out that is on top water, and it's the frog that Tom Moyer produces that you ordered.
I've got them. Yeah, I've got them here. Yeah.
And I used the frog 2.0, the micro frog 2.0, and the duo
Shinmushi.
That word I can't say. And it's so check it out. It's only a little 10-minute video, but I quite like it. It's the start of something new. So if you haven't watched it, go and watch that. Sorry for the shameless plug, Charlie.
No, do it. Plug away.
Right, so
you've got that comparison between the head and the Shinmushi. The thing we're going to compare here is we've got the Argos Jitterbug Classic, we've all used, or we have used, and then something that I've been using a lot recently. I'm going to have to lean across my mic here unless Andy can reach it. So this is the Headbanger Spitfire. Now, as you can see, it's a similar-ish concept. It's got that big scoop on the front, similar to the Jitterbug, so comparable, and it will displace water the same at the front, but it's got this multi-jointed, almost like a swim bait at the back, which is where it differs from the Jitterbug.
Well, this is fixed, so the whole thing will move, whereas that's got an articulating joint before it hits the main bait, hasn't it?
And there's all the tooth marks in it prove that it works. But yeah, this is again just as dead. I'm sure the same amount of time this would work, the Jitterbug would work. I just like new and shiny things.
Have you used it for bass?
No. Do you know what it is? I'm a bit funny when it comes to top water fishing for bass. I think there's a lot of fish scaring lures out there. I like a much more subtle top water when it comes to bass. I feel like they'll chase a lot of things, but to get them to commit is quite difficult, especially for sort of better sized fish. And I don't really like poppers or anything like that. I don't think they're very effective for bass. I much prefer like a pencil, but like a stick baity, walk the dog type thing.
I've got a theory about top water for all predators that if they're on it, you want to go something as big and loud as possible because they'll just want to kill it. And when they're not on it, but they're still looking, you've got to be subtle. Yeah, it's just working out what they want on the day or even at that hour because it will change. And I'm absolutely convinced that that's the way to. So if I'm pike fishing top water, I'll just nail my cut. Well, actually, I'll use that one and that one because that's a subtle approach. Yeah. And that one's in their face. Yeah, loud. I'm a dying duck. Come and kill me. Yeah. 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 So I do like it. I'm going to do a bit in September. Yeah. I haven't done it for ages. This year was a pike bow waves after a top water.
So exciting! Like it's something. Yeah. You just have to just close your eyes. Yeah. It's very easy to miss a strike when it comes to things like that. But top water is pretty much all I've done since spring. A little bit of other stuff, but really a little bit of LRFing, which.
Those little bass.
Bass, yeah.
How'd you get on with those?
Yeah, it's all right. In fact, shameless plug. The video I did for that will be out by the time this comes out. It comes out today as we're filming it. So that'll be there for people to go and watch.
Talking of shameless plugs.
Yeah, you got a little shameless plug there. Yeah. Is it the most iconic lure of all time?
I think the Rattles are iconic. It's quite deep, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a high pitched rattle, so is it?
I chucked this a few weeks ago and I took it off instantly.
Why?
God, I hate it.
Really?
Yeah. It's got the tightest, crappiest wiggle ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is, because I thought, I'm going to use this. Because in my head, it was like awesome. Chucked it and I went, ooh, don't like that.
So,
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Took it off instantly.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas in times gone by...
And when I was, I think this was one of my first ever lures as a kid.
Yeah.
Along with the Colorado spoon. And the Colorado spoon was my go-to, then this. So, but yeah, I don't like it. I don't know what it is. I'm just thinking...
Yeah. But what do you reckon? Do you reckon it is the most iconic lure?
It's got to be. Shakespeare Big S.
It's got to be. In the UK at least, I don't know how prevalent it is in other countries, but I think if you speak to most people who have been lure fishing for any amount of time, the Big S has got to be up there with the most known, I would say.
Was it because Shakespeare was a very big company in the 80s and 90s?
And mass distribute them to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. It was accessible. Shakespeare was a company that was grounded in this country with coarse fishing already. So distributing lures and the like was fairly easy for them. A lot of the same with Abu. A lot of the Abu lures were ones we know because they had that same in, like the high-low and things like that, and the other bits and pieces.
We were going to bring some very up-to-date plugs, cranks. I always call them plugs. What's wrong with calling them plugs?
Where does that come from?
Isn't that Mr. Crabtree?
Yeah, but why though? Why are they called plugs? They don't plug anything.
That's what we called them, plugs.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, you hear people plugging. They go and plug in. Spinning and plugging. There is no lure fishing. You're either spinning or you're plugging.
Crank is an American term.
Yeah.
And we call them plugs.
But crank makes sense. You're cranking it in.
Yeah, but
Like,
in my head it's plug. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's Mr. Crabtree. But
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
It's that era at least.
Yeah. Original Big S. But iconic, crap.
That is a bold statement. If we had any amount of people watching this, you'd get roasted in the comments for that.
I don't
big
care.
ass crap.
I just think this is... When you use it, it's just like... It should be better than it is. When you look at it, it's crap.
Is there different versions of Big S?
Yeah, loads.
Yeah.
That's just the one I had.
So as this looks like, looking at the bottom, it's got like a seam. So is that plastic?
Yeah.
Is there wooden ones?
I bet the originals would have been.
Yeah. I wonder if they was different in action. Well, they would have been different in action. But
Yeah.
I wonder how
I'm not
different.
saying I'm right. I am. No, I'm not. I put it on, mate, and it was just like, oh, that's got to come off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a shame because I thought, I'm going to take this with me. Where was I?
Was it when me and you went fishing?
No. Pittsford, Point Maniacs, trying to catch jacks.
Yeah.
I thought, I wanted to go down
Jack catcher. Yeah.
3 or 4 foot. I'll take the old Big S.
Yeah.
I chucked it twice. I went, no, that's coming off.
What did you put on instead?
Chatterbait.
Oh, right. So you went away from the crank. I just wondered if you had a modern equivalent. If you thought, this is what I wanted, but actually this doesn't work. What have I got that works the same?
Yeah, I would have put on one half the size, but then I'd start catching trout. I didn't want to do that, so I thought
I went for chatterbait.
Yeah, I went for chatterbait. But, it just didn't. It was the action. It was wrong. It was the wiggle was wrong. I can't remember. I think it was really tight. I thought I don't want that. It was like
not good
I can't remember. Yeah, for whatever it was, I just when you put something on, you go, oh no.
Yeah.
But bulletproof as in usage.
Yeah.
Talking about bulletproof in usage.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, isn't it?
The Guppy.
Guppy, yeah. Probably the most famous hybrid lure. Probably.
The easiest lure ever to use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's idiot proof, isn't it?
It is idiot proof.
Yeah.
And I know the idiot that designed it.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Joe Peterson will never watch this, but if he does, he'll be going, hey, Andy. So Joe Peterson, US muskie angler who makes handmade muskie baits, made the Guppy for CWC and made it in wood initially, obviously. And then they mass-produced it in this plastic version.
Yeah.
So if you don't know anything about this is basically it's a jerkbait, but if you just reel it in a straight line, it will glide from side to side. So you haven't got to impart any action at all. You can just reel it in and it does it itself. Hence why it's idiot-proof. And if you want to give it some, it will blow out a bit wider.
Yeah.
And it is actually a really good bait. Then I do struggle to get it down to the depths I want it to get down to. I think that's a sinking one.
Do you not see? I see a lot of American guys fine tuning their jerk baits to get down to a size by wrapping wire around things. Yeah.
Yeah, they wrap it around there, don't they?
Yeah, the shanks and the hooks and things like that to get to. But then you mess with the balance. Maybe you got to sort of get the weight distribution in the right place, otherwise it falls in the wrong direction.
I think you can do it better with wooden baits,
Yeah.
where it's kind of literally just falling like that.
Mm-hmm.
But with these plastic ones, it's quite difficult. That's a fast sink, so it's very difficult to get it. It's very difficult to keep it at the right depth as well. But these are really good for over shallow water, and I've got the slow sinks as well. They are really good when you're pike fishing over very shallow.
Don't you think it's strange that this was? I know we've probably touched on this in the past. This was designed by an American angler. And it's very well known over here. It's probably not that well known in the US.
No.
Like, it's not used very much.
No. I remember the story. You did tell me. What?
I watch a lot of American YouTube fishing, and I can't say I've ever seen anyone use a guppy. Like the one that there's two that seem to be used a hell of a lot for bass fishing, especially in the States. And there's one called a hinkle shad, which is like the holy grail in jerk baits or glide baits. And then there's another one called the bull shad. You never hear this come up.
No, I think what Joe was doing, I think he was trying to design a bass bait. Mm-hmm. So it was meant to be smaller.
Yeah.
And then he did it, because he's a musky angler, he made it in a bigger size. Mm-hmm. And then CWC just got hold of it and they really liked it. Mm-hmm. Ow. Just stuck myself with hooks. Hence why they kept it in this size.
Yeah.
But they do make a smaller one as well.
Yeah.
And I know off this, he made some small bass baits because he was trying to get into the... what would you call it? He was trying to get into the petrol station market. There's
right.
a term.
Yeah.
So for those that have been to America will know what I'm on about. For those that haven't, let me try and explain this. You pull into a petrol station, and it's not like here in the UK. You walk in and there's hot food, coffee, obviously crisps, biscuits, whatever. There's a rack of fishing tackle. There's normally a whole row of live bait tanks. Where you can get minnows and what do they call them?
Night crawlers. Suckers.
So you can just go and buy your live baits. Obviously, get your ice from outside and your fuel, obviously. But there's Joe was a manager of Banana Republic, who are clothing firm. So obviously, he had a background in manufacturing and sales. So he was trying to get his bass baits into the petrol stations. Mm-hmm. So there's a high demand because anglers in America will just go into the petrol station and go, what's that bait? And they just take and buy. So Brad Hoppy, who owns Muskie Man Tackle, when I was over there with them, I was in their factory having a look, and I was going, what's this? They said, oh, that's the same thing. It was a computerised sheet for a certain, bit like Q8 or BP or something. Mm-hmm. So these petrol stations had orders for their baits. Right. They were just stacking them into the petrol stations. And you're thinking, that's...
different world, isn't it? You couldn't imagine going to the SO garage around here and picking up a guppy, could you?
No. So that'd
be lovely if you could.
That's how I think these came about. They were bigger than he had anticipated as in size, because he was just making prototypes. CWC really liked them. And I know Joe has produced some small bass baits without the tail, I think, over the last couple of years. But I haven't been over there since before COVID, so I've lost touch with everybody. But I think that's how this came about. But yeah, hybrid bait. So we've got a hard body, soft tail. Is that a suic?
What, the one? My one?
Yeah.
No. That is a squirrely bird.
Squiggly bird. So Andy Lush was talking about these.
Yeah.
So that's old.
Yeah, very old, just an old school. But again, these are... It's actually a newish lure. It was brand new.
Oh, look.
What's happened?
We've got a technical hitch already. We're going to have to go with one camera.
We lost B-cam.
Yeah, don't know what's happened there.
All right, well, we'll have to talk over there then. So this is a squirrely bird. This is new. This was bought as a new lure maybe a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago. So they still produce them. I hate it. I can't get it to do what... Listen to the sound of that. No, I can't get it to do it.
Does it not just roll over and die?
It doesn't do anything. I tried everything to do this. The best I can get it to do is that. It just dies its nose. I can't get it to...
Oh, is it too buoyant?
It's a floating lure.
Yeah.
So you the best I can do is I've weighted it and managed to get it, but I can't get it to any side to side. People rave about them. I cannot understand it. I can't get it to do what I think it should do.
I think they're in the same category as that one.
Maybe. Maybe.
In in the shit category.
Well, but people still rave about this. People still buy them in the truckloads.
Why would you buy that when there's far superior baits that do all sorts of different
Maybe
things?
it's just what you know. They've had them for years. They've caught fish with them. They know they like it, and they carry on. But I just can't get it casts like a bullet.
It's heavy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't get it to do anything I want it to do. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Maybe I need some squirrely bird tutelage from someone.
No, I remember using one years ago, and that's why I said I think they're so buoyant they can fly back up.
Yeah.
So you've got to be very aggressive.
There's different. This is a floating one. There is a sinking version as well. But it's just got no action. I just can't get it to do what I want it to do. And again, someone in the comments will tell me I'm doing it wrong, I'm sure. Yeah, not for me.
Again, it's made for musky fishing, so it's probably got a really.
I'm trying to read the thing. It says musky man, but it looks like it's been cut off. Musky mania, maybe.
Honestly, I think a lot of these lures have a very false reputation, in my opinion.
I think it comes from, a lot of them hold on to a reputation from years previous where there
was
wasn't
nothing better.
Yeah. Like nowadays, if I go fishing, am I going to pick up a jitterbug or looks a nice shot, or am I going to pick up a Spitfire? I'm going to pick up a Spitfire. I just am, because
Have you know that Milligan YouTuber?
Milligan, yeah.
I've been watching some of his YouTubes, and he fishes these big swim baits.
Yeah, but that's what. So the glide baits. That's the hinkle shad.
They look cool,
like 9 inch. That's a big lure,
Have you seen him in the water?
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. So
why would you use that?
Exactly. Yeah, totally. But he's got a few that he really likes. That hinkle shad's one of them, and then the company he works with, that Sixth Sense, have just released a big glide bait as well.
Right, there we go. Now that's even more.
I really, really like the colour on that. Really like. I like the big bulbous eyes in it as well.
So you don't. So this is taking it next stage further. You don't buy it together. That body is by a bait builder called Glenn Carlson, who's Swedish. Mm-hmm. So every time I went to the sports fishing fair, I'd buy his baits and stick them on my mantelpiece because they're too nice to use. So he got frustrated with me and he called me across and he went, Andy, he goes, take this. He just gave me this. I said, I can't take that. He goes, no, take it and use it. So I thought, I can't use it on its own. Look at it, it looks horrendous. So what the Swedes do, they have this contraption where you stick a tail on the end.
Yeah.
So I thought, at least I'll stick a tail on. And it does actually look quite cool in the water. I have used it. I haven't caught anything on it yet.
There's I can't remember if it was fly versus jerk or the other one. No, it would have been fly versus jerk. So it's pike fishing. The Daiwa team do something similar. I think it's the Daiwa is called the lazy shad. It's their jerk. It's a similar concept to the Guppy, as it's meant to be idiot proof. You just reel it and it does what it's meant. I've got some downstairs. I should have brought one up. But they've done the same. They've put one of these in the back, but with a shad tail.
Yeah.
And that's what they call their big metre plus.
They're big in Sweden about adapting lures and changing them.
Yeah, this is a cool idea. I like that little harness, little hitch. That's cool.
I think you need to fish it quite shallow, so when the pike's committed, it's not going to back down.
So what again? I'll show my ignorance here. So when you're fishing a lure like that, if it was just the front bait, it'd be a jerk bait. So you'd fish it like a jerk bait side to side, and you'd impart the action on it. But if you was fishing that lake, would you just straight retrieve it, or would you still impart action?
So what? I can't remember how deep it goes.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was using it. I used it on Rutland actually, and I was just checking because it's very clear water. I was checking out the action, and I think I wasn't giving it too much, but just giving it some gentle taps, but retrieving it at the same time. So the tail stood in. As you shot it forward, the tail would still have some action. Yeah. I was expecting to get hit on it. There was a reason why I took it off. I think I just fancied the big Wolf Creek shads more. Yeah, that's all
you do. You use what you got confidence in, don't you? That's the thing. I think although things like the jitterbug and the woodchopper, probably back then you consider quite big lures. Nowadays, nothing, is it?
We've got the small versions. Adam Ward put me onto these. This is in the late 80s, early 90s, and we had the little bass versions. Yeah. And we felt they weren't big enough, so we managed to get the bigger ones. Yeah. And as soon as we started using these, it was
different game.
Yeah, these pike were hooning after these things from the weed. But yet, again, it was a time of year thing. It was back then. It was kind of October was awesome, as just as you got the first frost or just before, so the weed was dying off. End of September, October time. Now, I mean, you could probably fish them in November, December.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think like again, sort of comparing old to new? Do you think that there's been a shift in attitudes to all sides of lures in that time, or do you think there's more people doing it, so there's more opinions out there? Do you think that would be quite a normal size nowadays? You know, that would be a very average size of pike lure. Whereas now you've got things like the gator catfish, which is 40 odd centimetres long.
No, I'll tell you what I think. I think most people don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Honestly, because the older I get, the more I look at things and go, people have just watched something.
And not understood why.
They've not gone out and learnt over a period of time. Mm-hmm. We live in a generation where people just want instant success and they're not prepared to work at it. So something like this, I'll tell you, the best example I can give, ginger fisherman.
Yeah.
Can't say too much yet, but Chris Bartlett is a really good angler.
Yeah.
And he uses a topwater on one of his waters where there's lots of ducks.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because the pike smash the ducks.
Yeah.
But when he's having to try and catch other species, he has to use really fine, small stuff because it gets highly pressurised by anglers.
Yeah.
So to me, he's working it out.
Yeah.
So he's using a big topwater because it's a duck in your head.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fishes another water. It doesn't get hardly fished at all. And he can use really big baits for all species because it's faster flowing. The fish have got to eat to survive. And he knows he's got to get them to move. And it's the energy expenditure moving for a food
ROI.
item.
Yeah. Return on investment.
And he thinks how I think.
Yeah.
So that big 40 centimetre bait that we talked about, the catfish bait, would be dynamic in certain situations, wouldn't it?
But not something you'd use all year round on every venue.
I don't think it's the time of year. I think it's the venue is the important bit. So where the food source is big bait, or it could be, pike could be hanging off a spawning area waiting for big food sources to come in. That's where do you know what I mean? So you have to work out in your head.
Do you think that's the point I'm sort of getting at is, do you think that that's something that you've learnt personally and you've attributed now it's in your brain and the cycle of how you choose what you're fishing with? Or do you think that's something that we've all learnt as a community of lure anglers over since the 80s, 90s to now, that there is certain situations where a big lure works and a small lure works, whereas in the early days of it, it was just using a lure?
No, because you open most people's tackle boxes, they've got all the same lures in there.
Yeah.
And they'd be the same sizes, I can guarantee it. So the BSF guys obviously going to use small stuff.
BSS. You did it wrong again.
Oh, what? But when I do it, I use bigger baits and little ones. Yeah. So I reckon if you're looking at the average person's tackle box, they're buying what they're seeing on social media. Yeah. They're not actually very good. They're not working out in their head what to use. I don't mean that to be rude. No. People, if someone goes just for a bit of a hobby activity, their learning in that activity is going to be minimum. It's like if I played golf, right? I wouldn't have a clue, would I? Because I just go and swing and be useless. But that's my level. Yeah. So people who go lure fish and just pick up their bag of lures, they're the same. They haven't got a clue. Therefore, they'll chuck on the one lure they've caught fish on, and it doesn't work. Yeah. But they don't think about why it doesn't work. And I think becoming a mediocre angler is starting on that path. Yeah. And I think becoming a really good angler, you've got to become completely mad and get yourself involved in all sorts of things. And then you've got to realise you're not right. You've still got to be open-minded about it. Yeah. So I think the size of lures, it's not trendy to use something big. It's foolhardy to use something big. But you'd be daft not to use something big in not the right application. Yeah. And it's knowing where to use it. So going back to Chris Bartlett, he uses 20, 25 centimetre shads on a tiny little stream. Yeah. Because he knows what the pike want. Yeah. He tells me they're hunting the chub. Yeah. So he's replicating the food source. Yet that size of bait completely outpowers the stream, and the noise it makes when it hits the water is kind of works. Yeah. It's
very interesting.
You've got to work out for predators what they're eating.
So here's the question: have we worked it out as a whole? Is there anything we haven't worked out yet? Where does lure making and lure development go from here?
I don't think there's anything new. I just think we're just recycle. I think lure makers recycle ideas. So let me show you that. Yeah. What do you notice about Joe's design on the Guppy? There's several things that stick out. What are they?
How do you mean? I don't understand what you mean.
Look at the Guppy itself, that one. What is quite unique on that isn't on other baits compared to that?
What, apart from the tail?
No, the eyes.
Right.
They're huge.
Yeah.
Look at the gill plates.
Yeah, yeah.
So when he handcasts baits, he will say that's his design, his stamp. It's wide here.
Yeah.
So he'll get quite irate whenever musky bait builders make the same profile baits.
Right.
You look at some of the soft plastics coming out in Sweden. Look at the front end.
Yeah. Right.
So bait builders are nicking each other's ideas all the time, and it's been going on
since time
immemorial. You can't say it's your idea because someone else will have come before him. So
yeah.
I think with bait building, they're not actually having new designs; they're just coming up with different ideas. So look at Nays Baits.
Yeah.
Very new firm, have really built a reputation off YouTube with Fly vs. Jerk, Xander Pro.
Yeah.
The last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's Dustin Schoner.
Yeah.
And he has a film production company. And I think one or two other guys who are keen anglers joined in with him just as a hobby. Mm-hmm. And they're rich guys and they threw a lot of money at it.
Yeah.
And they just come up with these funky looking designs.
Yeah.
Produced by a computer.
Yeah.
Complete opposite to
that sort of thing.
Yeah,
honed from
which one's better?
Yeah.
They both work.
Yeah. I think the other thing we've got sitting on the table there is probably the most different thing I've seen in recent years, as in not just a rehash or something else. I've never seen anything else like that. Have you?
No, this is why I picked it up because I just thought these are, and also you can see why it works.
Isn't it? Yeah. So this is the LMAB finesse fillet or finesse fillet, and it's from the side it looks perfectly normal until you turn it onto its back and you see the profile of it. Well, I'm sure you can barely see the profile on that camera back there, but I would think Andy will get a nice little close up for you to have a look at some point. And it's incredibly interesting, and I can see A, why it's appealing to fish, and I can see B, why it's appealing to anglers, because it is different. It's something new.
Where would you use that?
As in what venues?
What application?
Drop shot.
Yeah. Perfect drop shot bait. And you could hook it that way.
Yeah, that's how I would hook it, yeah.
Would you?
So I've also used the smaller ones on little jig heads for canal zander. So just flicking it up, and it just works just as well. I see on the packaging they offer sort of rigging advice, and they suggest fishing it with a Texas rig and Cheb rigs and things like that. But I can't really. I think you want to use as much of this as possible, and you don't want to bury an offset hook in the back there. I wouldn't have thought. On a drop shot.
Is that the production packaging being made by a non-angler?
I don't think so. I think because it seems to. I'm sure there's people that do fish it like that, but like I said, I've fished. The problem you've got the chunk.
So if you're going to Texas rig something or Cheb rig it, there's far better baits to use than this.
Oh, 100%.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So people that don't know any better would waste days trying to Texas or Cheb rig it.
Yeah. And
be struggling.
Yeah.
Whereas a bit of experience and knowledge, you go, well, no, that's perfect for drop shotting.
Yeah. But so the problem I had, so even with it, so these are what are these, the 11 centimetre? Yeah, 11 centimetre. So even with these, as soon as you put like a normal jig head hook for it, you run out of meat. Do you know what I mean? So you end up trying to thread the hook for this tiny little piece back here to get any sort of size hook. I forget what the smaller ones are. I think they're 7 centimetre. So they're a little bit smaller, which means you've got less meat in the head. But for zander, I don't generally find that a problem because you can use quite small hooks. They tend to hit head first anyway most of the time. Perch and things, you get a lot of like tail biting and tail nipping. But just like sort of dibbling down the edge in canals for small zander, that works really well. But I've used these to some great results in the past.
I think they're really good.
Yeah.
I even though I don't like drop shotting, that's a great drop shot bait because it's got the movement.
Yeah.
And you haven't got a.
Yeah. It does a lot of it itself.
Got to acquire Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
Most out of the drop
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Right, we're coming towards the end. So my question at the beginning was, I think you've touched on it. Is there any room for innovation, or is it just about recycling?
I think there's always got to be room for innovation because if you don't innovate, then it just becomes stale. Like, a lot of that is for the sake of the manufacturers. They can't just keep selling the same old lures forever. They need something new to keep themselves going. So there will be innovation. I'm sure most of it will be at least influenced from something older. The idea of something being completely new now is quite difficult, I would think. But I'm sure, we're saying this, and you watch in 6 months' time, something will come out that blow everything out of the water, and we're like, oh, I've never seen anything like that before.
Headbanger's the one that I've not seen, but
yeah,
even that, they call the front end something. They stick it on everything.
Yeah.
And I think on some baits it doesn't work.
No.
But I think on that top water it does.
Yeah. So they've got a few. They've got this. They've got the cranky shad, which is the diving crankbait type thing. They've got just the regular headbanger head, like the rocker head they use on the jigs, like a weighted one, so they use it as like a jig head sort of thing. Yeah. I can see applications where it works, but this is the one. I've used the normal ones as well. The I forget what they're called, like the original that was like a diving sort of this virtually, and it works. It catches pike, but I think this is actually something very valuable.
Yeah, cool. Right, I think it's time to go. Before we go, guys, you can abuse me on the comments about this.
Andy said the big S is crap. Hang, draw, and quartering.
I do. I think it's awful.
Someone come to the comments and defend the big S.
But nostalgically, I love it.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
I think you're probably right. The big S, and I'm going to make a bit of a bold statement, deserves to be left in the past.
Yeah, but in my head, I have so many great memories of being a kid walking along the fen drains, chucking this out and catching a little jack and being over the moon. Yeah. So it holds a special place in my heart, but it's retired.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to leave it.
Right, guys. Get the second camera working again, and we'll sort this tech out, and we'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.